It's time for GrizzBeat, a full court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
Well, everyone, as you can see, I'm not Jarvis Greer, but I am running point, so just call me Michael Scotty Pippen Wallace, picking up right now for Jarvis Greer, who's working his way back from Texas, where he was on scene and on site covering the Memphis Tigers' bowl victory over in Frisco over West Virginia. But we still got a great show, a jam-packed show. Jarvis will be with us on the other side of 2025 once we get through these next couple of weeks of the holidays. But this is our last GrizzBeat show of the 2024 season. So I had to bring in some very, very special guests to come in and join us to get us through this last, send-off, holiday send-off for GrizzBeat. So first and foremost, Colin Cody, WREG Channel 3. Colin has been on the beat for a long time. He's giving you all of the coverage and everything going on with the Grizzlies and other sports around town too. Colin, thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Mike, always a pleasure to come up here and sit with you guys, talk Grizz, talk Memphis, talk Tigers, just happy to be in the holiday spirit with you guys.
Absolutely, man. I see you got your holiday greens on too,
Yeah,
so it's all good.
No
all
Grinch
good.
though.
All good. Fresh shape up and everything. You told us you straight from the barbershop,
Yeah,
huh? Straight
yeah.
lined up. Good, man. Good. And also, Lang Whitaker, my co-host, or I'm his co-host on the warm-up show. You can catch it an hour before tip-off of every Grizzlies home game. Lang Whitaker has been with us for Grind City Media almost as long as I've been here. I should know because I helped bring him here. True. But we've been riding this train for a long time. Lang, thanks a lot for joining us on GrizzBeat. You were just fresh off of Grizzlies practice today. So
I did, yeah.
What's going on down there? What were you able to discover down there?
Well, it was, the guys had yesterday off, and so they were...
and the day before.
And the day before, so they were trying to kind of get back into it, and Taylor Jenkins talked a lot about opportunities. I was saying to someone, Taylor is always such an optimist about all this stuff. You're like, well, you just came off this loss to the to the Lakers. Yeah. What do you take from it? And he's like, well, it's an opportunity for us to compete more. And I was like, you think when he runs out of cream in the coffee, he's like, well, it's an opportunity to go get more cream for my coffee. Because he always has that positive spin on things. Yeah. But they talked about that. Ja talked about it too. He said they came out kind of flat in that first half against the Lakers, and he thought it was a good chance for them to kind of learn from that and try to bring that same energy for all four quarters tomorrow night here at FedEx Forum against the Golden State Warriors.
Absolutely, and we'll get in more about that game tomorrow night against the Golden State Warriors as the Grizzlies play 3 of their next 4 right here at FedEx Forum. Get down here, get tickets, join us for all of the excitement and the festivities as the Grizzlies go into the holiday week this coming week. But plenty of great basketball. The Grizzlies are in a great position at the top of the Western Conference standings, top 3 in the West. Plenty to get to, plenty to explore with the Grizzlies. And we got a great show. We're gonna give you a little bit more about what the biggest storylines of 2024 was with the Memphis Grizzlies as we count down the rest of this year. We also are going to give you our take on how the NBA Cup turned out. Obviously, the Milwaukee Bucks knocked off your favorite Oklahoma City Thunder team. Everybody loves Oklahoma City around here, right? How many of us were cheering for Milwaukee in that game there? And then we're going to take you behind the scenes with another one of our great videos before we wrap up the show with Scotty Pippen being mic'd up. But first and foremost, guys, I wanted to talk to you about what some of the top storylines just of 2023. So that incorporates the end of last season, the summer, right, and the draft and summer league and the first quarter of this season. And I wanted to talk to you guys first and foremost about Jaren Jackson Jr. To me, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the single most important and consistent player that we've seen for the Memphis Grizzlies this season. He's having a career season offensively. He's back to his defensive player of the year mentality as well. He's not asked to do as much, but he doesn't have to do as much. Yeah. When you think about what Jaren has done over the course of this season, starting back in January, finishing up that season when everyone else was hurt for the most part, and then getting off to a great start this season. Colin, what have you seen in Jaren that stands out in 2024?
You just see the work, like you just kind of mentioned, after being the most healthiest player from last season to carry over into this year, Jaren has continued to just grow his game, and we all kind of wonder how Jaren would feel without Steven Adams or last year, because he was that roamer right in the paint. He was able to get those blocks at the rim, but now he's kind of figured it out. Even in the absence of Zach Edey being in the lineup, Jaren has still figured out how to guard the best post player for the opposing team and also just be super efficient on the offensive side. So I think we just continue to see a great mesh of Jaren's skill and talent at this level. And he's just like the cognitive machine that keeps this Grizzlies team going. The most consistent player, I would say, this season. And he's the engine. He's the engine and the force for him.
Lang, where would the Grizzlies be without Jaren Jackson Jr. in 2020?
In a lot of trouble. I mean, we always talk about call 12, but when 12's not around to answer the call, like who are you going to call? And I think last year we saw that when Ja was out hurt. Jaren was able to come down the stretch and play most of those games and give the Grizzlies a real number one option in these games. And now that everyone's healthy and back and you can call 12 and all those different things, having Jaren there, and I think just the expansion of his game offensively that we've seen, when he used to just come in and just shoot all those threes and you're like, all right, well, that's great, but like what else you got? And now like he gets the ball, he's going to the paint every time. He's spin moves, shooting left-handed, right-handed, floaters, all those different ways he's able to get to the rim, get to the free throw line. He's still 25 years old. He's still so young, but he's become a name now getting thrown around in MVP conversations and all-star conversations. And I think, you need, we saw it last night in the NBA Cup, you need multiple guys who can score for you down the stretch in these games. When you need a bucket, you have to be able to turn to different players. Jaren's one of those guys, he can get you a bucket no matter when and no matter where.
Yeah, and to that point, Lang, you've covered this league for a long time as well. You've seen guys come in as, fresh out of high school. You've seen them come in as one-and-doners. Jaren was a one-and-done guy. Does he remind you of the trajectory of his career so far? Does it remind you of any of the guys that you've seen at that power forward center spot from who you've covered and been around?
I'm trying to think of who it would be. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is KG.
Yeah.
Just body size, body type, all those different things. But KG never really had like that running mate in Minnesota. Steph Marbury was there and then got traded. And then for a long time, KG was kind of just there. And it just took him to go to Boston to find like that real kind of core of help. And I think Jaren reminds me of that a little bit, but he doesn't kind of have that mid-range game that KG had. But I think he's probably better dribbling the ball and getting to the rim than KG was. I don't know. What about you? Who comes to mind for you?
KG is the natural guy just because of their body types and how young they were coming into the league. I think Jaren, to me, physically and fundamentally, he reminds me a lot of a younger Tim Duncan. Now, he didn't have the back to the basket that Tim Duncan has, but just in terms of how the trajectory of his career kind of went every year incrementally, Colin, and you jump in on this too, you've seen Jaren add something to his game that he didn't necessarily specialize in the season before. So just that growth, I think of some of those guys and some of those young greats, those young bigs who ended up becoming great players. And I think Jaren is midway through the first stage of his career, and he's off to a great start so far.
And I don't know. I mean, I love the KG comparison. I have to throw Chris Bosh into there as well.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, just the ability to, like you said, kind of add to his game.
A one-and-done guy, too.
One-and-done guy. And when Chris came in, I mean, I remember when he had the dreads and he was in Toronto. I mean, he was just an athlete at the rim, right? He was just, you didn't want to be in front of Chris Bosh. But then when he got to Miami, he added that little finesse game, a little more shooting touch because you had to, because they were spacing.
Became more of a stretch.
Stretch four at that point, stretch five. So I think Chris Bosh, like you said, and a great guy whose career ended short, but he was outstanding.
No, those are two great comparisons, because when you talk about Chris Bosh, I had a chance to be around him every day too. And I used to tell him, I'm like, Chris, man, we want dreads Chris. We want Toronto Chris. And he was like, I can't be that here in Miami now. I got other guys around me, where he was the show in Toronto when he first got there. So, no, that's a great comparison right there. I think Jaren is definitely a top 3 storyline from 2023. Another top 3 storyline to me is the emergence of what the Grizzlies came out of that draft with. And when you talk about Zach Edey being the number 9 overall pick, it was a controversial pick, but the Grizzlies made it. And then you also get the production at number 39. So you go 9 and 39, and at 39 you get Jalen Wells, who right now is in discussion for Rookie of the Year after being Western Conference Rookie of the Month as well too. So Colin, when you look at that as a storyline, how much of a surprise is it that it turned out this way so soon for both of those guys?
I'm not super shocked at the production that we've gotten from Zach Edey in the games that he's played, because I mean, he was a 2-time player of the year. I didn't have any ills about his game. It was just how they were gonna put him into this system and the pace that they play in. But when you talk about a Jalen Wells, a guy that started out in and finish at Sonoma State, then Washington State. And, I think he was a gem, obviously. He looks like a kid still, but, like you just can't fall to the production that you've gotten out of him this season, like what he's been able to do from shooting the ball and also what he puts the ball on the floor. Like, you don't see a lot of rookies making those type of plays.
No, and Lang, when you talk about Zach, I mean, he came in obviously with a lot of the national headlines. He got hurt in summer league.
Yeah.
He's kind of been in and out of the lineup so far. But overall, how do you measure the impact that these two guys have made so far this season?
You mentioned it was a controversial draft pick, but we were also kind of basing him on what we thought he would fit with last year's offense and last year's kind of system, not knowing like how different it was going to be this year, like that it wasn't going to be as much pick and roll, that it was going to be a lot more kind of drive, kick, space, find open areas in which you can get open and do things. And so we all thought, oh, well, if they're running pick and roll with Ja, like that's going to be awesome. And it hasn't been that way. But I think to his credit, he's transformed his body. He's not the kind of just big hulking player he was at Purdue anymore. Now he's thinner and he's able to run and keep that pace. He said today at practice, like, he hasn't at Purdue. He didn't really get injured. I think he missed one game his whole time there. And he was saying like he kind of isn't used to having to fight through these type of things, and so it's been different for him these last couple of weeks sitting out watching. But I thought you saw him come back in that Laker game. He hadn't played in 2-3 weeks, and he looked like he hadn't missed a day. Like he fit right in there and came in and produced right away off the bat. I think that's the most important part about Zach, is it just his mentality and his ability to understand the game, be a student of the game, and understand like, hey, what can I do to fit in? Where can I be effective? What can I do to make a change on the court? And he's able to kind of just read the game and figure out what he can do to be effective.
Now, will the Grizzlies have a tough decision to make? I mean, because we've seen, at least in the matchup against the Lakers, they've come off the bench with Zach Edey in both of those games in L.A. He has an impact, but by the time that he really gets going, the Grizzlies doesn't really have an answer to close either one of those games. Is this going to be a conversation, or should this be a conversation in the coming weeks, whether it should be a Zach Edey back in the starting lineup, or do you still ride with Brandon Clark because the analytics say he plays a lot more productively alongside Jaren?
Yeah, I think this is a good problem to have, for one. And when you talk about, let's say, the Lakers in a series, I think that's probably more of a chance that you add a Zach back to the lineup, and you just have to manipulate the lineups. And that's one of the best things about the Grizzlies this year. They have so many different combinations of guys that they can throw out there to kind of counter whatever team throws at them. And it's all, starting or not starting, but the minutes thing, that's the main key, is how do you unlock the potential around who you're also playing against. So I like the fact that Zach could probably work his way back into that, but it also depends on who they play night to night.
And Lang, my number one storyline, and we talked about two other storylines with the Grizzlies in 2024. My number one storyline is the return of Ja Morant, right? We saw a glimpse of him in January when he came back, and then he got hurt, and then we didn't see him again until the start of this season. But this obviously remarkable viral layup that he did against the Nets is just a gift that continues to keep on giving. But Ja Morant being back, and Ja Morant being back to his personality, back to his production, and even more, the most efficient that he's been as a player in his 5-6 years in the league. What are you seeing from Ja as the storyline has developed over 2024?
I think also his ability to change his game to fit this system, and instead of pick and roll every play, he's coming down, he's passing, he's cutting, he's moving. His point of attack defense, Taylor Jenkins talks about that constantly. He's really embraced that challenge and trying to be more of an on-ball defender and give the Grizzlies, the chance to not have to switch as much and be able to not try to hide Ja on other players. Like, he'll take those challenges and play those. His total evolution, I think, is something. There's something to be said for that. Like, we talked about how Jaren comes back every year and he's added something to his game. Like, Ja's 3-point shot now, that's something else that's real. Like, I think, and you see him continuing to grow, continuing to get better off the court, on the court, all those things. I think you're going to see him continue to just evolve and get better. Today we asked Ja about the All-Star voting starting and like who deserves to make it, and he said Jaren. And someone said, well, what about you? And he was like, no, don't worry about me. This is about Jaren. We're trying to get Jaren in the All-Star game, which I thought was such a mature answer. Like, he's like, hey, let's put the focus on this guy.
It is. And I think that's one of the areas of growth that we've seen from the beginning of 2024 to now, is that I see a perspective in Ja now that, okay, playtime is over for the most part. Like this is a role and a responsibility, but also an obligation.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be a superstar in this league, it comes with having to do certain things and not do some other things. So you're starting to see some of that maturity. I don't know if Jaren's gonna need help getting in an All-Star game.
I know.
That used to be a thing because Ja felt like Jaren might have been overlooked because he was gonna naturally be the guard in there.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little bit harder the other way around now.
Yeah.
Jaren's probably going to have to help get Ja in, but when you see what Ja's done, obviously his numbers speaks for himself and his impact. But how have you seen sort of the trajectory of his growth over 2024?
Well, I mean, for one thing, that hasn't changed. He's always box office. Like, we played the clips in Brooklyn, what he's done here. Just the fact that he's simply said in the locker room, oh, yeah, I'm not dunking this year. Like, y'all think I'm playing. And that's national news, right? Like, people really love to see 12 on the court. But his maturity off the court, I think, that's a testament to his work, what he wants to be for this team night in, night out, and just the motivation. I think when you see other guys like, you got Santi who's stepping up, you got Jaren playing at this all-star caliber level, MVP caliber level, he also knows what's at stake. And, I think it's just a testament. It's just like the buy-in and lock-in to what they can do each and every night. They know how special this group could be.
And before we move ahead, I mean, those were three of the top storylines for 2024 that I saw. But I want to give you guys a chance. I mean, is there others receiving votes? Is there an honorable mention in terms of one storyline each that you guys saw over 2024 that resonates? And Lang, I'll put you on the spot and go with you.
I'd start with Santi, actually. I think, coming off last season, he got to play a lot because everybody else was hurt. But then going into the summer, and he played for Spain in the Olympics. And, we've kind of seen now, like, there's a history of guys who go play in the summer for the national team, come back and have really kind of breakout seasons in the NBA. Yeah. And Santi was the only NBA player on that Spanish Olympic team, and he's the only Spanish player in the NBA this year. Yeah. And I think Santi has kind of really embraced, like, all right, I got some eyes on me now. And, he's getting thrown around as a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. His ability to play the 3, the 4, the 5, to shoot the ball. There's nights where he has 17 rebounds. There's nights where he has double-digit assists. Like, he kind of game to game kind of gives this Grizzlies team whatever they need. It's a good time for him being in a contract year too. Yep. But the way he's been playing this year, I think really just adds to this Grizzlies team and gives Taylor Jenkins more options.
Yeah, I love Santi, but also Scotty Pippen Jr. You can't forget about what Scotty's done. I mean, he should have been Summer League MVP, got snubbed for that. Yeah. But it's the diligence of keep working and keep coming back. Like, when Ja is out, he knows there's an opportunity for him to go up and, play his butt off and earn some more minutes. Like, the fact that he got that triple-double, like, just scratching off these little things. And I can speak for, like, I didn't pursue a professional career like football like my dad, but like when everybody's saying like, hey, your dad got you to this spot, and you're only here because that adds more motivation than a lot of people don't really think about. So Scotty, he's definitely earned the right to be that backup point guard role for the Grizzlies.
Especially when you have your dad's name.
Exactly. That's the worst part about it. I'm fortunate, but like seriously, that adds so much to it. So he's shown out this year for sure. Yeah, the only changes, man, that IE became a Y, right?
Yeah, Scotty Pippen and he was Scott Pippen when he was drafted back in '87. Now he's Scotty Pippen, and now you got that Scotty with the Y that is playing with the Memphis Grizzlies. One other thing before we shift gears, one other storyline that I didn't include, and those were two great ones. Santi is having a breakout year, and it's good to see him get to that point too. And Scotty obviously made a name for himself in the league right now. Taylor Jenkins surpassing Lionel Hollins for most victories all time was a big-time accomplishment for Taylor too. And Lionel was a big fan of what the Grizzlies are doing. Now, he will say this, and I had a chance to host a Hustle Junior Grizzlies clinic with him on Sunday. And he said this debate between Zebo and the grit and grind guys about going up against the next gen guys in the playoffs, he said, first of all, Zebo would have Jaren Jackson in foul trouble. Jaren couldn't defend him, and Zebo would have him in foul trouble. And somebody will step in and take a charge on Ja Morant, and he'll be back in the locker room, getting treatment. So basically what Lionel was saying is that the physicality, if you played it in that era, he likes his guys. But he also said these guys with the Grizzlies and what they're doing right now is a phenomenal brand of basketball that he's not sure that they would be able to keep up with if they played by today's standards.
The other thing I would just throw out there in terms of like storylines, you mentioned Taylor Jenkins, and that kind of the main thing we keep coming back to is player development.
Yeah.
For every
100%.
single one of these guys. These guys, except Pippen's been here probably the shortest of all the guys we've mentioned and the rookies. But Ja's been here for a while. Jaren's been here for a while. Santi's been here for a while. We've seen all these guys come in here and sort of develop themselves and become better under Taylor Jenkins and his staff. And however they've got this whole player development system set up, seems to be working pretty well.
Definitely working pretty well. And they've also given both Taylor time to implement it, and they've been patient with the core players to see them continue to matriculate from that standpoint. And where that has the Grizzlies right now is at the top or among the top teams in the Western Conference. When you look at the standings right now, coming out of this little NBA Cup break, the Grizzlies are second right now, basically a half a game ahead of the Houston Rockets, who are third. When you look at that, Thunder, Grizzlies, Rockets, Mavericks, those are all teams that are on the come right now. The next set of teams are all veteran, older teams that have kind of been there and might be on their last legs. But where the Grizzlies are positioned right now, after, the first 27 games of the season, Colin, what impresses you most, and maybe what concerns you most about where the Grizzlies are?
Well, what impresses me the most is that they were able to pick back up from what they did 2 seasons ago. You lose Tyus Jones, you lose Steven Adams. A lot of people start to have a little doubt about what where the direction's going, and you implement a new system. It's hard for the buy-in from the public's perspective. But on the outside, what concerns me the most is these games that we easily could be number one in the West. Like, you don't lose to the Rockets, you don't lose to the Mavericks, and you sweep the Nuggets in that 2-game series here. I mean, the Grizzlies are well ahead of the Thunder at that point. So, I mean, I just don't want to see them. I want them to get over that hump of learning how to close out games. And I think that's important before you head into the All-Star break, is to have your guys available, but also be able to win the games you need to win when it's crunch time.
Lang, there's a lot of basketball still left to be played, but when you look at where the Grizzlies are right now, do you foreshadow them to rise up, stand pat, or maybe take a step back a little bit?
I think they'll settle back a little bit. I mean, they had a pretty fortuitous schedule the last couple of weeks, but they handled their business. They won those games. Now they're going to play some teams that are a little tougher than what they had. And, I don't know if they're going to finish with a 67% winning percentage or whatever 18-9 is.
Did you just guess, or did you know that?
That's a little Roser math. I don't know.
I was about to say, hold up for a second.
Well, they played 27 games, right? And they won 18 of them. That's 2 out of 3.
That's 2/3. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a math teacher, but I play one at night when my son's doing his homework. But I would guess they're going to settle back a little bit and become a little bit more. And the other thing I wonder is, we saw the Lakers the other day talk about trying to take away the middle from the Grizzlies. And Taylor Jenkins mentioned today at practice, he was like, it's not the middle we're trying to get to, it's the paint. But okay, whatever, the middle. He's like, we're trying to get to the paint in different directions. Yeah. But I wonder if, the Grizzlies play such a unique system, and I wonder if you're going to see teams start to kind of scout it now.
Right.
Now they've got tape on the Grizzlies. They've seen them do it now. And we'll see teams start to figure out, okay, here's how we, react to this, and then the Grizzlies are going to say, all right, here's how we react to it. So I think you'll probably see some of that the next few months also. Yeah,
we're also trying to figure out, man, that every single week now we got a new feature on the show, the Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week, and we always have to figure out how to answer these great questions, and Sonic is doing a great, tremendous job with partnering us for the Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week. So without any further ado, my favorite part of the show, tossing it over to CJ. Cue the music.
They said, CJ, don't yell at him no more. Be much more reserved.
Who said that?
They did, Lane.
Who's they?
Them. I said, I'ma do it. Science! We're excited about this! Grizzlies Mailbag Question! Shout out to Sonic. I went down to Atlanta, Georgia this weekend for the Celebration Bowl. Bet you guys can't guess where I stopped and had lunch. Yep, it was at Sonic. Got me a chili cheese coney. Got me one of the delicious slushies. Oh, I love their cheese sticks as well. Shout out to Sonic for sponsoring the Grizzlies Mailbag Question of the Weekend. Shout out to Sonic for also serving delicious food. Here's your question. And remember, if your question gets chosen, you'll receive a $5 gift card to Sonic, where you can get any one of my personal favorites. I love the tots. I love the cheddar peppers. I love the slushies. I love the shakes. Don't get me started about those shakes. Here's your question. Congratulations to my man Jamal Moore on winning this week's Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week. What gift could Santa give the Grizzlies this Christmas season that will make them clear favorites in the Western Conference. Shout out to Jamal, your Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week winner.
Is he always like this?
Yes. We're in this new feature, and ever since we started, man, we let CJ out the cage right there, literally.
Okay. That's why he's in the box.
That's why he's in the box.
Okay.
So the question is, what gift could Santa deliver to Grizzlies to make them the clear favorite as the #1 seed in the West? And Colin, I'll give you the first stab at that one.
Say the easiest one is health. If they stay healthy, the rest of the way, the Grizzlies, they got enough tools. They got some veterans. They got the talent. If they stay healthy, they'll be #1.
That's the obvious answer. And I don't know anything else to go with. So I would just say what Santa could give me to help me watch the Grizzlies be clear favorites in the Western Conference is one of those sonic ice makers.
Oh, the good ice!
The good ice. Santa, can you deliver a sonic ice maker here to Grind City Media to me? And I would love to use that. I'm just asking.
Ooh,
Thank you, Santa.
Now, cooking with Lang with the ice maker,
That's
man,
right.
This dude can do all kind of damage
That's
as
right.
a cook and as
I want one of those
as
sonic
an
ice
icy
makers.
guy.
Let's go.
Man, health is obviously it. We still haven't seen this. We've been waiting for 3 years now to see this team fully healthy, but we still haven't seen G.G. Jackson and Vince Williams Jr. with these guys, and hopefully that can happen in the next month. A little bit after that with GG, depending on how he's trending. But I think that's one of the things right there. I'll double up on or triple up on what you guys have said. Health will be the biggest gift that you can give these guys. And 3 or 4 more weeks of great recovery for GG and Vince in their respective rehabs. Get all these guys. Let Taylor have a pickle of a time or a challenge trying to figure out how to use this rotation with everybody healthy.
Also, you might say one of the gifts Santa gave the Grizzlies is the whole league got to watch the Thunder get beat down last night by the Bucks.
Yeah.
And the Bucks kind of gave you a blueprint. They're like, be physical with these guys.
Yeah.
Take one guy, cut the head off the snake, and
make everybody else.
This is how you do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've always said.
So the league might have seen, the rest of the league got to see that. That was the only game in the NBA last night. The rest of the league got to watch the Thunder take a big L on TV and say, oh, okay, maybe this is how we attack this #1 team in the West.
Now, having said that, Milwaukee hadn't shot that well all season, right?
No,
but Giannis, and we'll get to that on the other side of this break. But before we go to break, the Grizzlies have a game. They're back in action finally. It seems like it's been forever since we've seen these guys. They hit the practice court today. They will be back on the court tomorrow. They're going to be hosting the Golden State Warriors. We're all loving this matchup coming in. The Warriors rank 4th in both three-pointers made and three-pointers attempted per game this season. We know that they do their damage from behind the three-point line. The Warriors are also, and the Grizzlies, are 2nd and 1st in the NBA in bench scoring. The Grizzlies have the top scoring bench in the league, and the Warriors have #2. The Grizzlies overtook them with that 76-point effort that they delivered against the Washington Wizards about a week or so ago. And then lastly, the Warriors have won the past 3 games, but these teams have split the past 10 overall in the regular season. When you look at what's going on right now, the Warriors also added Dennis Schroeder last week in the trade from the Brooklyn Nets. Schroeder's last game that he played was right in this building with the Nets, and he was sort of a nuisance at the end of that game alongside Jordy Fernandez and Taylor Jenkins and Ja Morant. They kind of got into it. And the first game that he will play as a member of the Warriors is scheduled to be tomorrow when that team comes to town to face the Grizzlies. When you look at this game, the Grizzlies already took a loss at Golden State earlier this season, kind of melted down at the end of that game, never really had their rhythm there. What has to happen differently for the Grizzlies to finally send a message to these Warriors, Colin?
They just got to step up to the task. They can't get, bullied by Draymond. Simple as that. And I'm curious. I wonder if Dennis got like an Airbnb. like honestly, did he just stay here for a week?
He was over in Cooper Young the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what he did. I mean, seriously, that's a guy. And the Grizzlies tomorrow, this is one that they've had circled for a while. Let's be honest. They hate losing to Golden State. They don't like losing, especially on the road out to Golden State. So they know the fans going to be inside the Forum tomorrow. It's going to be rocking. And, this is the one you circle back because especially after dropping one they should have won in L.A., them guys, they're going to be ready for this one because they want to do whatever they can to shut Draymond and Steph up.
Absolutely. Lang, we're going to break this one down all the way tomorrow on the warm-up show. But as of right now, 24 hours out, you mentioned it. The Grizzlies, the rest of the way, Tankathon lists the Grizzlies as having the toughest schedule among all NBA teams from this point forward for the rest of the season. So they got some of the light work out of the way. Now this next stretch is up against some teams you're going to be jockeying in the playoffs with. What do you want to see in this game tomorrow?
What the hell is Tankathon?
I got to give them credit. I can't just take. Yeah, I just can't take credit for it. I didn't do the metrics to figure out they had the toughest schedule the rest of the way.
I mean,
it's called Tankathon.
It's got to be a tough schedule because they played all these crappy teams like the last couple months, and teams who are tanking. I would say like tomorrow night, like I'm curious to see how Golden State uses Schroeder. They've been without DeAnthony Melton for a little bit now since he went out. He was starting for them. And Kuminga really wants to kind of be that number 2 guy, and he's sort of getting that opportunity with them. Zach Edey talked a little bit at practice today about going up against Draymond again because the last time when they played, Draymond
yanked his foot. Went dirty and yanked his foot.
Tackled him down, broke the code. And so I think that Zach Edey was like, look, that's how he plays. He's just going to get in your head. I'll be fine. I'll just play my game. And I think like the Grizzlies, like as long as they stick to what they do, they'll be good. They just need to play their game and do what they do and not kind of get sucked into that Golden State vortex of complaining and doing all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no question about it, man. I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow, and we'll be breaking it down all day long on Grind City Media and Grizz throughout our channels. We're going to head for a break right now, but when we come back, we'll give you our recap of the NBA Cup and also the other storylines going around the league across the National Basketball Association. So stick with us on GrizzBeat.
This month's 191 Collabs, presented by Hennessy, is bringing Grizz Nation an all-star matchup it won't want to miss. Renowned fashion designer Prep Curry and Grizzlies forward Jaren Jackson Jr. have teamed up for a 6-piece collection that's as eclectic and unique as the city they both call home. These limited edition threads won't last long and are only available on FedEx Forum Thursday, December 19th, when the Grizzlies take on the Golden State Warriors at 7 o'clock. Buy your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com or the FedEx Forum box office.
Hoop on the Grizzlies home court at Junior Grizzlies Game Day Clinics presented by Ortho South. Clinics are open to kids ages 6 to 14 and last 60 minutes. The next clinic tips off December 23rd, the same day the Grizzlies play the Clippers. All skill levels are welcome, from beginner to competitive athlete. Sign up now before spots sell out at grizzlies.com/Junior Grizzlies. Registration includes a Junior Grizzlies t-shirt and 2 tickets to the game that day.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Southland Casino Hotel is helping you navigate to Santa. Win your share of up to $340,000 in free play or a 2024 Lincoln Navigator. Here Comes Santa kicks off November 24th. Get 1 free entry and earn additional entries for weekly Saturday drawings. Don't forget the grand finale drawing on Saturday, December 21st to win up to $5,000 in free play or a 2024 Lincoln Navigator. Win big during Here Comes Santa, only at Southland Casino Hotel.
Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quoting, call 800-522-4700.
Grizz fans, lock in for twice the basketball with the two-way ticket pack. Catch two-way standouts Yuki Kawamura, Cam Spencer, and Colin Castleton repping both the Memphis Grizzlies and Memphis Hustle at Landers Center on January 31st for Hustle versus Raptors 905, and again at FedEx Forum for Grizz versus Spurs on February 3rd. That's 2 games. Each pack comes with a free Yuki Kawamura reversible jersey. Who doesn't want one of those? So you can rep both teams with pride. Get yours at grizzliesgroups.com/two-way. Again, grizzliesgroups.com/two-way, as in TWOWAY. Welcome back to GrizzBeat. Now is our favorite time of the show. One of our favorite times of the show as we whip around the league, and we want to start first with a recap of the NBA Cup. The Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo as the MVP won the cup. They went 7-0, ran straight through the regular season cup games and through the tournament, blowing out Oklahoma City last night in Las Vegas. These guys are hoisting the trophy. That trophy and all that confetti meant absolutely zero for the Lakers last year after they got from Las Vegas. But guys, will this mean a little bit more for Milwaukee, who's turned their season around through the midway point of this first sort of half of the season? Colin, do you think Milwaukee found something special with this run to the Cup?
I think so. I think it just, anything, it shows that you're trending in the right direction. Like when they came here to the FedEx Forum, I mean, they got ran out the gym. And when a team is in search of something, especially in the East when it's wide open, I think, they definitely needed this.
Hey, look, Damian Lillard finally won his title.
Oh.
Everybody's been saying he's.
I mean,
it doesn't count.
Not really. I don't think so. They didn't even drink the champagne last night. They just left it.
I mean, look, I would also say that the two-time defending Cup champion Darvin Ham now, assistant coach with Doc Rivers. He won it last year with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Darvin Ham's got the secret to the Cup figured out. I tweeted a joke after the game because I was like, well, Doc Rivers did what he was brought in to do. He delivered an NBA Cup to Milwaukee. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I kept thinking during the game last night, I was like, if this game was played at Oklahoma City or at Milwaukee, like that crowd would have been live.
Yeah.
People would have really been into it. I get why it's in a neutral site or whatever, but like, part of what makes championships great are you're playing in front of the home crowds.
Yeah.
You got the people into it and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that's a way to get a little more engagement with it is you play it at the city or at somewhere else. But it was fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
It is what it is.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, it's fine, and we got to figure out how to get the Grizzlies more successful in these Cup games. They played 8, and they're 1-7. In NBA Cup
should have been
games
2-6, except that Dallas game.
Should be 2-6. I do like the concept. I wasn't crazy about it last year. I was skeptical. I wasn't sure how much a regular season game with steroids meant in terms of all the promotion. But I do see the players. It means something to the players a little bit more this year
the ones
than
who
it did
win
last year. Absolutely. $514,000 to each player on the winning team. $210,000 to each player on the runner-up team, right? So that's not anything to sneeze at when you talk about that. But I agree with you, Lang. I think if you're going to make a tweak to this, I don't understand, or I don't believe that the Vegas component is essential.
Yeah.
I think you just make it a home and home. However it turns out, whatever the higher seeded team is, get that home game, and then you see where it goes from there. Because it doesn't count against you once you get to the title game. It's just for the money from that standpoint. Are there any other tweaks you guys might make if you look at it, or it's fine?
It's fine. I don't really, it's like, I don't know. It's still kind of new to me.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is, though, like, we dealing with NBA players and, like, the thing that's probably most valuable to them is time, their own time, because during the season they don't have time. And, like, all these the 28 teams that weren't in the finals or the 26 teams that didn't go to Vegas, like, they all got a couple days off, almost 2 weeks off, really, the way the Grizzlies did last week and this week. So, like, yes, you don't get to play in this and you don't get the $500,000 or $200,000, but you do get a bunch of time off and a chunk to reset. Like Desmond Bain last week called it a mini All-Star break before the All-Star break.
Yep.
And so, there is something I think for everyone else involved in this thing to be like, all right, we get a little time to reset, figure some stuff out, and kind of reattack.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Well, do you think like that's kind of partially why we see like the lack of participation in the All-Star break? Because like when they finally get there, they want to just not have any responsibilities and anything to do. Like you're getting pulled in all these different directions. Yeah. Then you got to play a game. Like you don't really get a break. So
and it's more and Lang and I. That's how Lang and I met. Like all these All-Star weekends ago, right? And he was real big into the shoe companies and the festivities and stuff that they put on, and I was covering the practices and everything. And the part, I was trying to keep
you can say it.
Man, but the thing about it is that's the obligation part of it that the players kind of wear them out, right? It's the parties and it's the obligations and the shoe stuff and everything. But the league compensated because they gave teams some time off before the break and they get some time off afterwards too. I just think until the players care and the rivalries are real and teams actually absolutely despise one another, I don't know if it's going to change the dynamic of the competitiveness. There's one way to change it, and the league isn't ready to do that just yet. And I think that one way is to go international versus USA.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that will clearly bring something back to it, and it would also galvanize the global audience as well too. And hopefully
Make the whole world hate us. Is that what you mean?
Mini Olympics.
a mini Olympics, but you'll have guys that Luka and Jokic will be on the same team, right? From that standpoint, so it'll be the world versus U.S.
Yeah,
well,
Giannis, that team would be stacked.
It would be, which would be a challenge. It really would.
Wemby.
Were y'all guys living here yet, or like in the early mid 2000s where they used to have the United States versus international high school game here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my!
Not when I wasn't here, but I remember that game.
Man, I remember going to that as a kid and just remember the environment. Like, you did not want to lose to somebody that couldn't speak English. Like, I hate to say it, for real. Like, that brought some real intensity. I like that idea. I wish they would feed into that more because, right now it's neck and neck. Yeah,
and that's the one thing that they haven't been able to capitalize on is figuring out a way to make the All-Star game compelling as it needs to be. Jumping ahead a little bit, we're gonna the Sixers can't catch a break. When you look at what the Sixers are going through, McCain just obviously he had the issue with his injury and now he's out. And this was a kid that again drafted in the middle of the first round. He gave them some lifeblood when Joel Embiid was out, when Paul George wasn't back yet. Tyrese Maxey was hurt, and now he's going to be out indefinitely as he recovers from an injury. How tough of a blow is it for the Sixers? And on a very, very completely different page, this is also kind of an opportunity for Jalen Wells as well too, because this was his biggest competition early in the season for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's terrible for what's happening in Philly. Like, they had a lot of expectations when you bring in Paul George and Joel. He hadn't been healthy since before the Olympics, in my opinion. So yeah, you might want to just pack it up and get ready for next year. But for Jalen, he can definitely solidify himself as the pack leader of this rookie class in going into the 2025.
Yeah, what did you see in McCain's game? Obviously with the knee injury, I didn't even mention what the injury was, but it's a knee ligament issue that's going to be keep him out indefinitely.
Doesn't this feel familiar to us?
Yeah, very.
Like in a terrible way. This is what the Grizzlies went through last year when they couldn't keep anyone healthy, and sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. And the Sixers have not had a lucky run this year. But look, when they drafted Embiid, they knew that he's had this long, and he missed 2 years before he played a game for the Sixers. Getting healthy, like the fact that they were able to have this run with him the last 5 years, probably is maybe more than they expected. I don't know, but then you go out and sign a Paul George, who's had injury issues also. I guess the way the East is right now, though, maybe there's a chance everybody's healthy by February, March, and you're able to make one more push at this thing, get into the play-in, and who knows from there. Like you saw, teams last year at the bottom of the Heat come into the bottom of the play-in tournament and make the finals. So, maybe the Sixers still have a chance, but it does feel very familiar, I think, if you're a Grizzly fan, to see what the Sixers are going through.
And here's the thing. I mentioned McCain, but I didn't even go back and say Joel Embiid with the nasal fracture.
Right?
And it's like he comes back and gets hurt again, right? And it's one thing, it's one recovery after another for Joel Embiid at this stage of his career, at this age, how much his body has gone through wear and tear, man. You got to wonder how much more does he have left to be that centerpiece for them to build around.
I saw some crazy stat on Twitter this week. I wish I had saved it, but there's been something like 8 players with a nasal fracture in the last 30 years in the NBA, and 3 of them are is Embiid. He's had to happen to him 3 times. And it's such a rare injury or whatever, but for whatever reason, it just keeps happening to him. Yeah. That's the kind of thing where you're like, all right, at some point, you got to figure out something. We used to always talk about when they say somebody's injury prone. And I was like, well, injury prone is not a real thing, but if you get injured a lot,
right,
you're injury prone. You're prone
there's something to it.
What was it with Rip that made him go with the mask? Because
Rip
something,
Hamilton. I don't know. Maybe that's a.
But his was he had the I want to say orbital or it was a nose, right?
Right.
But he was completely healed, and he chose to continue to do it as a preventative and a protective thing. I remember for the last decade of his career, he didn't have to wear the mask. He just chose to continue to wear it, which is one of the only players in the NBA history that has ever wanted to wear a mask from that standpoint. What's also rare is that teams make three-pointers at the rate that the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors made them the last time that they faced each other. 48 made threes, which is an NBA record for single-season games. Single-season threes made in NBA history. They took more than 70. So when you look at the fact of the matter that these guys are jacking up shots left and right like that, Number one, do you think the Grizzlies and Warriors have a chance to surpass 48 threes tomorrow night? And number two, is this good for the game, bad for the game, or do we have to figure out just to accept that threes are going to be part of what the game is?
I feel like tomorrow night they're going to try to break their record. But, yeah, I mean, I still feel like the best shot is the closest to the rim. Like, I get it, you're open, but everybody has opportunity to hit the long ball. But, man, I'm just so ingrained to, like, how basketball has always been played for this new era where, sometimes you just got to get the closest two to get instead of the long three. So I think we just got to get used to it. That's where it's at. You got to get as many shots up per possession, it seems like.
When it seems like guys are taking step-back threes and side-step threes, it's almost like, okay, we're hunting for these threes. I'm still getting adjusted to that like you, Colin. Lang, what do you think about the three-point proliferation that we've seen in the league?
The one thing with the Grizzlies is we don't ever hear Taylor Jenkins say our three-point attempts weren't enough or whatever. Like, he talks about points in the paint all the time, for years. That's been his, like, point of emphasis. And the threes are sort of a side benefit of that, right? Like, you attack the paint so much, everybody collapses, you kick out, you find somebody wide open. Then it becomes, can you knock down these threes? But I think there's other teams where it's just like, we're just going to get up threes. It's just a volume thing. Like, we got to get up 25, 30, 45 threes, whatever in a game. Then do you have the shooters to make those shots?
Right.
And then there's not a lot of teams that do. So you see a lot of teams out there just jacking up threes, building houses, shooting balls, like throwing rocks at the backboard. So I think for the Grizzlies, they are shooting more threes than they did in the Lionel Hollins era, like you mentioned
Way more.
earlier.
Yeah,
way
not
more.
even close. Yeah.
But it's not just like sort of pointless shooting threes. For the Grizzlies, there's a method to the madness, I think. And with other teams, sometimes I wonder if there is a method as much as it is just we got to shoot a lot of threes because threes are more than two.
There's nothing worse for me to watch an NBA game than to see a team having a bad shooting night.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they're not willing to shoot another shot to get themselves back into a rhythm. But one of the biggest principles in the Grizzlies offense, you talked about that. Their first look is, let's get the ball at the three-point line in 3 seconds from transition. And if that three is wide open, take it. You're obligated to take it. If not, look into the paint, get the trailer, look at another three. And then if not, then run your set. So it's almost like taking the three is the first two of the three priorities that you have when you're talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. One of the other priorities right now for a guy that's had a lot of success in the NBA, Tracy McGrady, recently joined the Buffalo Bills ownership group as a minority stakes owner for the Buffalo Bills. Number one, T-Mac is one of the most affable players, one of the coolest dudes to be around on and off the court. He's always approachable. And to see him take this step into the business venture in the business sector, number one, he picked a team that's hot right now, too. So that's going to be a great return on his investment right off the bat. But when you see more and more NBA players take this ownership step, what comes to mind in terms of how guys are thinking differently now, Lang, than they thought maybe 20, 30 years ago?
I think Vince Carter also became part of this Bills ownership group too. Like, well, look, we're seeing players with more money than they had 20, 30 years ago, right? They're getting paid in one season what they made in 5, 6 years previously. So they got more money to invest and to spend and to spread around. And they're looking for ownership because they know what it's like to be on the other side of that coin, right? They know what it's like to not have a say in matters. And I think so for guys like T-Mac, for guys like Vince, LeBron's talked about wanting to be an NBA owner when he retires. We see it a lot more now. Carmelo Anthony has got involved in a bunch of soccer teams and all sorts of other things. I think you're going to keep seeing this as sort of a recurring theme from these guys. And also, like, who better to be an owner of a team than a guy who played professional sports, right?
Absolutely. And, I just love to see it. It also shows the credit that managing your money long term, right? The aforementioned the stereotype of, like, athletes losing all their bread before they can really enjoy it post-playing in a career. So I love to see T-Mac and what Vince been able to do. But, like, there's a model that everybody's been following, started by probably like Magic, right, with all his business ventures and everything. So it's just good to see. And it also goes to, like, the space that we're kind of in now. Like, you see more players getting behind the mic and, telling the story. Because us as journalists, we have a hard time pulling those stories out of them a lot of times because we're not in between the lines with them. So it's actually really cool to see athletes be more than what people consider on the day-to-day.
No, Colin, that's a great point. And what this is, and both of you guys kind of alluded to it, was the player empowerment era, right now.
Yeah.
They're more empowered to share their voice, whether it's social media or behind the microphone. They're more empowered to use their money and invest in different businesses and communities, and even at the ownership level. So the incredible thing about what T-Mac is doing is he's doing beyond NBA. He's going NFL.
Yeah.
And you're seeing LeBron go over to, soccer
Yep.
internationally and different things of that nature. So these guys are spreading and increasing their portfolio, and it's a good thing. It's a good business model for how the modern athlete is thinking and how they're operating as well, too. And before we take our final break, I want to bring up our our GrizzBeat weekly power poll. Well, really, it's my Grizz weekly power poll. I just
Colin
get
and I
those
didn't
guys.
get a vote on this.
Yeah, they didn't vote on it, but I'm hoping it makes sense. Really, I don't care if it makes sense to them. But here's what I see as the top 10 teams in the league based on the GrizzBeat's NBA power poll. Cleveland and the Celtics are staying up there at the top right now. I still think they're 1 and 2. And then there's a little bit of a delineation. The Thunder, we just saw them take probably their worst loss of the season at the hands of Milwaukee. The Mavericks, Rockets, Grizzlies are the next set right there. Milwaukee jumps up. I think that they're slowly but surely making their way back into a top contender in the East. The Knicks are good right now. They have a lot of things going for them in terms of their balance and what they're playing with. Don't look now, but the Nuggets are starting to find their rhythm as well, too. And Orlando Magic, despite the injuries that they face, are still hanging on to the top 10. When you look at that list, guys, you don't have to go through all 10, but did I miss out on anyone? Is anyone too high, too low, or did I completely whiff on a team that should be up there?
Man, should the Thunder be third? Lane? I feel like they're a little too high up on that list after not even scoring 100 points last night.
You can't put them behind the Rockets because they just beat the Rockets.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
I think it's impressive the Magic, like just to have two of their main players out.
Yeah.
That's amazing to be 17 and 11. I know the East sucks, but for them to be that good, and maybe the Hawks, should we throw them in the mix?
Yeah.
Like they just had a little run and made it to the Final Four of the NBA Cup in the East. And in the West, I don't know. I feel like that's pretty accurate. It's interesting, though, to see teams like the Nuggets now starting to get thrown around in, like, trade talks.
Yeah.
It's teams like you're not used to seeing that team getting in and mention the trade talks. They're one you're starting to hear pretty regularly now.
Yeah, and it's still, we're barely a third of the way through the NBA schedule, and there's so much intrigue. There's so many storylines going on, and those were just a sample of what we're seeing in the NBA. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Scotty Pippen being mic'd up. You can see what goes through his mind when he's on the basketball court, and we'll tell you about the week ahead for the Memphis Grizzlies on GrizzBeat.
Get the squad together for this year's Junior Grizzlies 3-on-3 tournament, presented by 2K at the Built Ford Tough practice facility inside FedEx Forum. On Saturday, January 4th, teams will compete in 3 games before advancing to single elimination play. Overall winners from the 10 and under, 12 and under, and 14 and under divisions will win Grizzlies tickets, including exclusive access to the pregame team shoot-around before the Grizz take on the Pelicans January 24th. Sign up today at hoopitup.com/Grizzlies.
Grizzlies are just having fun out there tonight. Morant around a screen, bumped by Wagner. No look to Smart, lays it up on the window and in, and it is all Grizz. The Grizzlies have the fans on their feet at FedEx Forum.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance, to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy.
Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Vote now. Vote repeatedly. Did I say vote now already? And vote again. Vote to send Ja, Jaren, Dez, and all your favorite Grizzlies to the 2025 NBA All-Star Game. Vote daily throughout January 20th at NBA.com/vote. That's NBA.com/vote. Or with the NBA app, and boost your vote up to 3 times on triple voting days. Your vote is their ticket, so make it count and vote today. Every single chance you get. With the new voting, guys, with the new voting structure and the way we've seen the All-Star Game work, the Grizzlies could have a nice presence in San Francisco. They're going to do this at Chase Center. So not only do the Grizzlies, are they still in striking distance to have the number 1 seed? So that means the coaching staff will be honored at the All-Star Game. You can also have Ja, Jaren, Dez. You have the rookies in Zach Edey and Jalen Wells. And then, look, Lang, I think you're like me. We're all secretly trying to get J-Huff in either the three-point or the dunk contest, right? Yeah, so, out of all of those things, man, the Grizzlies certainly have an opportunity to be well represented in this season's NBA All-Star Weekend. So vote early, vote often, and vote especially on those triple vote days right there. As we look ahead, the Grizzlies we talked about it, they have the toughest schedule the rest of the way, and it starts on Thursday when the Golden State Warriors visit FedEx Forum to take on the Memphis Grizzlies. And then after that, on Saturday, the Atlanta Hawks, one of the hottest teams in the East, coming into the NBA Cup semifinals. This was a team that was rolling as well, too. They found a way. Their young guys are playing well, around Trey. And this is a team right now that's trending in the right direction. So that's not going to be a gimme game, especially on the road. And then you come back on Monday to play the Los Angeles Clippers, who could potentially have Kawhi Leonard ready to roll by that time. So, guys, when you look at that 3-game stretch right there, all 3 of these teams are teams that are trying to figure their way out, but they're all dangerous in their own regard. Lang, when you see this week ahead, what do the Grizzlies have to keep in mind?
Play their game. I think especially that Atlanta team, like you said, they've been kind of hot lately. The Clippers have been surprisingly good considering all the injuries they've had. And Ty Lue's such a good coach. He's always going to have them prepared and ready to go. I'll believe Kawhi is back and healthy when I see it. Look,
you've heard the rumors, though, huh?
I know, man. But, I feel so bad for him. He's really, really struggled these last few years. And the Clippers let Paul George go, and they're like, we're going to ride with this guy. And it hasn't worked out this season, at least. But they've still been pretty good. They have a really good bench, and they've been good defensively. So I think for the Grizzlies, it's Taylor Jenkins says this a lot, but it's not them, it's us. Focus on what we do, play our style of ball, play what we know how to do, have the top 7 offense and defense in the NBA. You do those things, all the other stuff kind of falls in place, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Colin? And I think also it's a great opportunity to mess with the lineups a little bit. Each one of those teams, they present different things.
Sure.
Defensively for the Grizzlies, and I would love to see. This is who I kind of compared Zach Edey to when he came out, was Zubac. I want to see them two go head to head, because that's going to be a fun matchup. So just got to play that game and not play any other style differently than what they've been teaching all season.
These are all games that again are going to test the Grizzlies in different ways, and I think this is also coming. The increased difficulty of the schedule is also coming at a time where the Grizzlies have to really evaluate. Do we just want to be good, or do we want to go pursue this title? And now you're getting into this trade deadline season where you really have to look at maybe making some tough decisions, whether it's the rotation or whether it's the guys you actually have on this team. So I think these games are going to provide the litmus test that the Grizzlies need. We've seen them look excellent at Boston. I think that was the biggest win of the season. They didn't look so well at LA. But the road to a title is going to have to go through the road at some point, and the Grizzlies are going to have to show, whether at home against higher competition or on the road against some key teams, that they can win. What we do know about this Grizzlies, they have one of the deepest teams in the league, the highest scoring bench in the league, and one of the stars off that bench, emerging star, is Scotty Pippen Jr. And our video team had a chance to mic him up for his recent return back to Chicago, where he played on the floor that his father made famous. Take a listen to Scotty's work.
Let's get it, y'all. Let's go.
Number 1, Scotty Pippen.
Yeah, chop him, Jake. Chop him. Good pass, boy. Go to the rim on that. Good pass, Jalen. Look for the double back door. Talk to me, though. Look to the, if I get your man, it's coming. Ball. Yo, world. We out. Hey, I kick a hand every time. Take ball. Stay there. Santi.
Good job, Scotty.
Cash out. What you mean?
That's your first one?
First one, I had 20 of that. Congrats, boy. I got it. Appreciate it, gang.
Scotty Pippen is so fun to watch, man. His energy on the floor. This guy is a point guard ready for the NBA. He worked on his game. He's become a better defender. And as Colin said, he should have gotten the Summer League MVP from that game, that run the Grizzlies made to the Summer League championship. But, hey, he got a contract. He has a role. He has a role on his team. And we're looking forward to seeing what Scotty can do off the bench again tomorrow against the Golden State Warriors. Get your tickets, 901-888-HOOP, or go to Ticketmaster and lock in with your tickets to see the Grizzlies at home 3 of these next 4 games. That wraps up our show for this week. For Jarvis Greer, I'm Michael Wallace. Jarvis will be back on the other side of 2025. We have the next 2 Wednesdays off because next Wednesday is Christmas. The following Wednesday is New Year's Day. And then you can catch us right after that on GrizzBeat. Colin Cody, thank you a lot for joining us, man. What are some of the things you're working on? What do you got coming down the pipe?
Man, I'm trying to, I was going to say something funny. Nothing, man. Just, I'm trying to lose this weight, man. But Thanksgiving's still hanging on.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's what I'm working on.
That's the priority.
That's the priority.
You need to get some pace and some space, huh? That's what it is?
Yep, exactly.
All right. Lane, what you got cooking? Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I got too much pace, not enough space. I got I don't know, man. I'm just trying to get ready for Christmas. I got trying to check everybody off my list and make sure everything's done and ship presents to people in places I'm not going to be, because we got Grizzlies games here that week. So so I'll be here for the holidays, and then everybody goes out west, including you for the New Year.
Yep. Looking forward to it, man. So for Lang, for Colin, for CJ, and the Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week, I'm Michael Wallace.
I want that ice maker.
Get that ice maker to Lang and Colin, man. Hey, stay off of Sonic while you're trying to lose weight, and then get back on Sonic on your cheat days.
Yeah, that's what I do.
For the guys, I'm Michael Wallace. Thanks a lot for joining us on GrizzBeat, and go Grizz. We'll see you at the arena.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of GrizzBeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.